Good evening, everyone. We are My Little Bookworm, an app built to help families give their children the best start through the simple act of reading together. Over the past 8 weeks, 5 of us have built that idea from the ground up, and tonight we'd like to show you what we've made. Before we get into what we've built, I'd like to introduce the people behind it, starting with myself. My name is Maddie. I was a part of the front-end developer team in My Little Bookworm. I come from a background of retail management and e-commerce, and I am currently transitioning into software engineering.
Hi everyone, I'm Kat and I was a backend engineer and deployment lead on My Little Bookworm. I'm transitioning from a career in QA and software testing into DevOps.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I was part of the team of the front-end developer team in My Little Bookworm, and I came from a background of technical consultant, guided by my passion of technology and transition into software development.
Hi, my name is Mel. I'm transitioning into software engineering as a former patisserie owner and prior to that working in real estate operations. I've had the pleasure of acting as project manager for My Little Bookworm, developing with the backend team and also contributing to the graphic design.
Hi, I'm Anna. I was in the front end and the back end for My Little Bookworm. I am super interested in cybersecurity and I am transitioning from a team leader in superannuation to a full stack software engineer.
Thank you so much, everyone. Here is a number that might stop you in your tracks. Around 44% of Australian adults have significant literacy gaps, and it starts earlier than you might think. Research shows that regular, shared reading in the early years helps children develop vocabulary, comprehension, and confidence before they even start school, and those early habits have a lasting impact. But for many families, it can be surprisingly hard to keep track. Busy schedules, multiple children, shared care arrangements, life gets in the way. Records get lost, habits slip, and it becomes more difficult to see whether a child is on track or might need extra support. And crucially, the solution isn't more screen time. The World Health Organization recommends none for children under 2 and limited exposure until age 5. What builds early literacy is shared reading, those moments of back and forth that develop language, communication, and curiosity. Parents want to build these routines, but they often lack a simple way to see progress and stay motivated over time. Our mission is to make early reading easy, visible, and rewarding. We want to support families building long-term reading habits, encourage time away from screens, and make it simple for multiple carers to contribute to the same child's reading journey. At its core, this project began with a simple idea. When parents can see progress, they're more likely to stay engaged, and that consistency helps children thrive.
Thanks, Maddie. Once we had the vision, it was time to decide what we actually wanted to build and how we wanted to build it. So the first step was deciding that to make a web application that our users could access from their web browser. From there, we developed some personas, which were simple concepts such as divorced parents or kindergarten teacher, to give us some ideas about what sorts of features these personas might like from our application. We then developed the personas into fully fleshed out user stories, which then drove the features that we built into version 1 of My Little Bookworm. The two really key things that we focused on were, one, making things flexible. We didn't want to make any assumptions about family structures or dynamics relating to child care or child arrangements. And the second one was, of course, being able to track 1,000 books read over the first 5 years of a child's life. So with that, I'd like to lead into a demo. Welcome to My Little Bookworm. The first thing I'd like to point out is that our application is coming to you live from our website. We've deployed it to AWS. It's running in an EC2 instance. We begin on the landing page, which is the public site, and it contains information about the application. So it tells potential users that they can track books. The reason we chose 1,000 books was because this is actually related to early literacy research. Our application also, as I mentioned, is flexible for different family structures, and it offers rewards and milestones. 5 years is a really long time to track a big goal, especially for a child, and so we offer incremental milestones to give children encouragement to continue. We have some suggested books here on the homepage that you might like to read with your little ones. And we have a little bit of a sneak preview about what the application actually looks like once you're logged in. So with that, let's get started. Here we've got the login page, and we've got authentication being handled by Firebase, and we provide two mechanisms for sign-in. One is with a password and one is through Google. So here we're signing in as Evangeline. She's a mother of 3 children, Stella, Betty and Tommy. And once she's signed in, she can see her children that she's registered previously on the dashboard. Because it's going to become relevant later, I want to point out that Evangeline shares custody of her 2 older children with her ex-partner Patrick. So when we click into Stella, we can see a little worm. And if we click into Betty, we see the same worm, but slightly less coloured in. The colouring in of the worm provides a visual indicator of the child's progress towards 1,000 books read. On the right-hand side, we can see a big button, Add Reading Session. So this is where Evangeline can come across and log a new reading session. Before we do that though, let's take a look at Elephant Week. This is our weekly goals. So this provides a mechanism to introduce diversity in book selections. There's no penalty for not completing it, but it provides a prompt to maybe choose some different books. So we're going to complete a weekly milestone for Betty. Here we select Betty, we mark off the 5 books completed for the challenge, and then we are able to export a reward. We see a little toast notification that it was successful. And we have a PDF that Evangeline can actually print off and give to Betty to keep. Perhaps Betty might want to colour it in and stick it on the fridge. If we click into Betty's profile, we can see the goal that we've just completed appear under the weekly goals here. So that's been added dynamically. Evangeline can control which child profile she's looking at from the little selector at the top left. So we can switch into Stella's profile now. And we can see that Stella is really close to finishing the whole program. She's in fact read 999 books. Good job, Stella. It's almost like we planned it that way. So we can see on the right-hand side a list of all of the milestones along the way that Stella has earned. So I mentioned before that it's a way to have progressive sense of accomplishment, and we've divided it so that children can earn a reward for every 50 books that they've read. If we click Download Reward now, we get a certificate baselined against the last milestone that Stella has achieved, so the 950 books. We're going to go ahead and add a reading session. Here we choose the child, we search for a book title. There we go. We enter a date, and the reason we added a date picker here was to allow users to backdate if they needed to. And then we submit the reading session. We see that it's been successful and Stella's statistics have been updated straight away. So we now see she's at 100%. And if we regenerate that reward, we've got the final certificate of 1,000 books. We can also see a complete list of all of the books that Stella has read on her journey. So that appears further down the page. Now we're going to take a look at what Patrick can see. So Patrick is Stella and Betty's dad, and Evangeline has already set up shared profiles. So Evangeline retains the ability to control the data, and she's shared that with Patrick. Here we're logging in with OAuth through Google. Here we go. Okay, so we can see that only Stella and Betty's profiles appear for Patrick. That's because Tommy's profile hasn't been shared. If we go across to Patrick's settings, we can see that Patrick can update his own account details, and he has a list of the children that he can currently see. We're going to go ahead and create a child profile. So we welcomed Sophie to the world a couple of months ago. We'll give her a date of birth, and we allow Patrick to self-describe his relationship with the child here and pick an avatar. So once we've created the profile, I can see it immediately in the list here, and we can also see it from the dashboard as well. So if we click into Sophie's profile, there's nothing to show. We're going to go and create her first reading session now. So we click Sophie, we search for another book, we enter the date, and we submit it. There we go. This brings us to the conclusion of our demonstration of My Little Bookworm, and I'd like to hand over to Andrea to talk us through how we built the front end.
Okay. Thanks, Kat. What we just saw in the demo was only possible of how we work as a team. Every individual win was a win for the whole team. So we have quite a lot to celebrate for the past few months. We literally almost cried once we finish. And on the front end, our goal was to build an interface that was clean, intuitive, and generally supportive for the families using it. As discussed earlier, we made a deliberate choice not to do a child-facing interface, so everything that you see here is for parents and caterers. We focus on creating a gentle, predictable experience with warm colors, simple layouts, and minimal distractions with original graphics. The apps keep the focus on books, on celebrating reading progress with real and tangible rewards. We build the front end using React. This is a structure around reusable components. So each part of the app has a node sets components. Like you can see here, you have long reading session, create a child profile, that's their own components. And maybe that you're seeing here log a reading session and you see the Frozen book, maybe you're wondering where all these books come from. Well, Anna is gonna tell you about it in the next slides. In the meantime, let me keep talking about the front end. We also use React Context to manage the flow data throughout the app. This is where the real magic happened, my favorite part, which was connecting the backend with the front end, pulling the information to the user to see. And this will make easy for children's profiles, reading sessions, and authentication, keep it synced throughout the app. Routing was handled with React Router for a seamless navigation between the pages. We also use React Host. This was to show the feedback from the backend directly to the UI, to the app, so the user can know if the data that was entering is correct or not. And my favorite feature, and we're calling out, is a milestone certificate. We use React PDF render to download a personal certificate when a child hits a milestone or complete a weekly goal. This was the most seamless way to produce a real, tangible, and personalized reward, as you can see there, or masterpieces. All these choices help us to build a front end that is organized, easy to maintain, and ready to grow. It powers the reading experience you saw in the demo early with Kat, and helps families to bond over books, to bond over reading sessions, to keep tracking, to make every reward feel personal, just like those ones. Now I'm gonna pass to Mel so she can take you to the backend journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. To support all of that functionality, we needed a backend that was just as organized and reliable. We built the backend in Python, choosing Fast API on a recommendation from an associate, and we quickly became massive fans. Its typed endpoints, inbuilt validation, and clean approach to structuring routes gave us exactly the solid foundation we needed. Combining Fast API with domain-driven design was where the architecture really came together. Fast API handles the API layer beautifully, and domain-driven design helped us organize everything underneath it, separating the logic into domain, application, and persistence layers. Rather than scattering error responses across the code base, we centralized everything through our exception layer, so each domain exception maps to a single consistent response. This keeps the API predictable and debugging straightforward. This meant that each of us could work in parallel without stepping on each other's code, and it gave us a predictable flow from the request to database and back. For our data layer, we use SQL Alchemy with a MySQL database. Because this app deals with real-world relationships, parents, carers, and children, we decided that a relational database would best reflect that. SQL Alchemy gives us a safe, consistent way to interact with that data, and a solid foundation that accurately reflects the complexity of real-life family structures without becoming messy behind the scenes. Here is how our relational structure looks in the database. One of the most important decisions we made early on was not to tie a child to a single parent account or make the assumption of a traditional nuclear family. Instead, we designed a flexible joining table that supports one-to-many and many-to-many relationships. That means the app works naturally for blended families, shared care, grandparents, foster carers, and anyone involved in a child's reading journey. Because each relationship is established directly between a user and a child, permissions are set at that level. You saw this in the demo earlier. 2 users shared one child, but each also had their own separate children in their dashboards. so the system makes no assumptions about who belongs in the same household. Each table maps directly to a real concept in the app, things like children, books, and reading activity, which keeps the system intuitive and aligns with our domain-driven approach. Shipping a production-ready app in 8 weeks meant getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and making good architectural decisions while we were still learning the tools. On the front end, the steepest learning curve was React itself. None of us had shipped a React project before, so we had to establish patterns for routing, data flow, and structure very quickly. Getting that right early on meant the interface stayed stable even as new features were added. On the back end, we were working with Fast API and domain-driven design for the first time. Translating our domain model into a clean application layer and aligning the database with that structure meant refining our models and relationships as our understanding of the domain matured. Working through those challenges is what turned a set of tools into a coherent system, and Anna is going to show you exactly how those pieces connect.
Thank you, Mel. Well, now that you've seen both our front end and our back end, let me tell you about the glue that holds everything together, which is our API layer. We built our API layer with Fast API and structured our endpoints using routers. Behind me, you'll see some of the key endpoints that we've built. Simply put, the job of our API layer is to return data from the database to the user or to send data from the user to the database to be saved. Before any of that happens though, we firstly verify Firebase tokens to make sure the user's authenticated before being able to access any personal information. And now the mystery of where we get all of our books can finally be solved. Our book search endpoint pulls from Open Library, which is an external API, which gives families access to a massive library of books without us having to build one from scratch. When we were shaping our MVP, every design decision was made with real families and their reading habits in mind. We mapped, prioritized, and delivered, hitting about 99% of our must-have features. We built the app for carers, not children, because we knew that early literacy develops through shared reading and not screen time. That meant no child-facing features and logging that fits easily into any family's daily routine. Like any MVP though, there were still trade-offs. When we had to choose between AI book recommendation feature and cloud deployment, we chose the cloud so that our app could reach real families. When we had to choose between a web app and a mobile app, we chose a web app to reinforce the knowledge that we've gained over the past 9 months. We made additions that brought real-world value to families without compromising on the app's core experience. One of our proudest additions was the milestone tracking, and one of our favourite moments as a team was being able to decorate our own certificates to stick on our fridges at home as a reminder of what we've all achieved together. And our hope is that our users can do the same with their own children to have something that they can hold on to forever. Across the project, we use a range of tools to support design, development, and collaboration. You can see them all here behind me. For planning, we leaned on Figma, Notion, Lucidchart, and Miro. For development, VS Code, GitHub, and Docker. Testing was also a core part of our workflow. We used a combination of exploratory testing, unit testing, and integration testing. We ran automatic tests in GitHub Actions before every merge and followed a solid branching and code review practice. This prevented breaking changes from reaching our main. And honestly, we did pretty good because we only broke it like a couple of times along the way. To keep the project on track, we ran an agile approach with daily scrums, 4 sprints, clear task delegation, and a focus on shipping complete and working features. Together, all of these tools and practices kept us all aligned as a team and kept us moving forward.
Thank you, team. You've now sat through the technical deep dive, the demo, and all the architecture diagrams, so we'll keep this next part a little bit more human. What you've heard tonight was only possible because of how we worked together as a team. We all gelled really quickly, although our journey wasn't without challenges. We lost a team member early on, which meant redistributing responsibilities and tightening our communication from day one. We built a rhythm of daily check-ins, async updates, and constant collaboration between front end and back end. Sharing progress early, asking questions, and supporting each other became the norm, and we're all walking away from this with more than just a project to show for it. With that in mind, we each wanted to take a moment to reflect on what this journey has meant to us personally. For myself, this project taught me a lot, especially what happens under the hood in a full-stack application. One of my biggest learnings was managing state and creating a downloadable PDF in React. Creating a tangible certificate was really rewarding, and it reinforced my interest in front-end development, particularly in creating intuitive and responsive user experiences.
I'm motivated by systems thinking, and as an aspiring DevOps engineer, this project gave me the opportunity to see what it meant to build and deploy a full-stack project end-to-end. Personally, I learned the value of ruthlessly managing scope creep and to not let fear stand in the way of trying the hard things.
For myself, what I loved the most was solving real problems and see the features come to life. That was so rewarding. I learned that early decisions and architecture and state and management really affect the outcome. I want to deepen my knowledge in React, and explore API integration, as connecting the front end with the back end was my favorite part. This experience reinforced my passion for building meaningful products and confirmed that software development is where I want to be.
For me, this project was a chance to grow as an engineer and as a coordinator. Stepping into the project manager role played to my love of supporting a team, and contributing to the backend, I got to deep dive into Fast API, DDD, and the systems engineering mindset. My biggest takeaway was a genuine confidence in my own ability to find solutions, even when the problem space feels infinite. And above all, the project reaffirmed how much great teamwork shapes great software.
Thank you, Mel. What I loved most about our project was seeing features develop and then celebrating our incremental wins as a team really helped along the way. Being able to implement Firebase Auth also piqued my interest early on, and it was a very special moment for me when I got to see how it works with a third-party auth provider in a full-stack app. I am super excited to continue to grow as an engineer and to blend my love of cybersecurity with my love of full-stack engineering.
What we're most proud of is that the foundation is built, it works, and it's ready to grow. Designed, architected, and shipped by 5 people who were writing their first lines of code less than a year ago. The problem it addresses is real, the families it could support are real, and we hope My Little Bookworm is the beginning of something that genuinely makes a difference. Thank you.